I miss the days when bridesmaids were treated like people and not like stage props. My future Sil is getting married, so of course I'm a default bridesmaid. She didn't give us options for the dress, she picked it out and told us it's the one we'll be wearing. The dress is a strapless, backless, thigh-slit halter neck. I am a larger girl, triple D chest should explain why I don't wear backless or halter styles. Backless means I can't wear any form of supportive bra and there is virtually no shapewear I can put underneath it. The only bras that work are stickies or tape, which do not hold me up in the least. I tried the dress on, my chest is spilling out the sides, back rolls are on full blast, and I am popping out of this thing every which way. I'm so uncomfortable. I basically told the bride, sorry, I know it's your big day but there is no way I'm wearing this dress. My body shape is different from the rest of the bridal party and I can't justify wearing it. I told her I'd be fine if I can simply modify it to be more conservative at the back and chest. She declined and told me to just be more confident in myself because all the dresses must be identical for photos. I have no body confidence issues, there are plenty of styles that suit my figure. It just so happens that this dress was not made for larger women and does not look appropriate on my body. I want to drop out of the wedding but my family insists I stay in because it's my Sil and it would ruin the wedding and the relationship. I don't get why I should have to be paraded around in front of my entire family, extended family, friends, colleagues, neighbors, etc. in an outfit that makes me uncomfortable. It's just getting ridiculous. Brides, please have enough tact to make sure your girls are comfortable on your special day. We're humans, not props. Update 1. First of all, thank you so much for all the support. I appreciate your helpful advice and suggestions. On that note, I've decided to stay in the wedding to avoid sending my mother to an early grave. However, I've also decided I'll be wearing the shit out of this dress and making sure the center of attention is not on the lovely bride. I tried to resolve the issue with tact and class and was shot down, so I feel I've earned the right to be petty. I'm going to order some really specific shapewear which can be concealed under what little material this dress has. Kudos to you all who sent me suggestions. I'll be going full side boob, full shimmer added on the exposed back, and full body oil on the legs for the thigh slit. I'll be doing an updo on the hair so there is nothing getting in the way of this dress. I'll be wearing a shawl for everything else, but trust that for the ceremony I'll be looking like Salma Hayek in Dusk Till Dawn. Let's see what she thinks about this body confidence she asked me to find. Girl please. If anyone is curious, I'll most likely come back in May to post my pics. Bride made a profit on bachelorette trip. Sil drama, Jan 23, 2024. So much tea. I'm glad I can spill to my Reddit community because I can't gossip about it to my family. So, about 6 months ago the bride planned her destination bachelorette trip and charged each of the 11 girls $650 for the Airbnb. I was salty about the high cost but it's my Sil so I sucked it up and paid her. I also was suspicious about the high AF price so I did cross-check the Airbnb listing and it checked out. Yes, this B wanted a $2300/night beachfront house. Well, today I'm chatting about wedding stuff with my brother, who is marrying future Sil, and he said something along the lines of what a relief her dad paid for the Airbnb because that would have been so expensive for your group. I about choked. I said, hey, are you sure about that because all 11 girls paid $650 for the house alone. Maybe run it by her. His face turned purple so I take it he had no idea. To add to the greed going on here, when I got married I flew her out, paid for her accommodations, paid hair and makeup, paid for her bridesmaid dress, and paid transportation because she was going through a hard time. Now she has the balls to steal from me. I get that weddings are expensive but don't have one if it requires stealing from your BMs. I'm assuming I'm the only BM who is aware of what's going on here. Not sure if I should spill to the group or just let it go. There's a chance her dad stepped in and paid for it after the fact, and she just chose not to refund us. I'm not clear on the exact situation and want to avoid embarrassing my brother. Update 2. Thanks for all the advice and support. Yes, I agree with most of you who are saying I'm morally obligated to spill the beans because $650 is not child's play. This is what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to talk to my brother and give him a chance to clear it up with Sil. Before I make a scene, I want to understand what's really going on. For example, did daddy pay for the trip but Sil decided to put that towards a different wedding expense? Things like that. That answer will determine when/how I tell the rest of the BMs. I'm going to give my brother only 1 to 2 days because this trip is literally next week. Stay tuned for update number 3. Update 3. Alright, so I regrouped with my brother. My mom also stepped in, bypassed my brother, and got some more info directly from her dad. Here's the tea. Future Sil's dad did not offer to cover the cost until a few months after we all paid for the trip. This was after he found out the cost and was pissed that she chose a $2300/night house and asked us to pay. Apparently he threatened not to pay for the wedding if she added more expenses onto the wedding party. Turns out she originally wanted it at the Maldives and he forbid her. According to my mom who chatted with him directly, he felt embarrassed when he heard about the Airbnb price and wanted to save face with my side of the family. So he gave Sil about $7,000 to cover the cost of the house. She was supposed to refund us but obviously that never happened. This is where IT gets good. So my mom went total FBI and learned that in addition to not paying us, Sil didn't put the money towards a different wedding expense either. She doesn't have it. So where did it go? What did she spend it on? There is currently a full-blown investigation going down between our two families RN. I have been asked by my mom not to alert the BMs just yet until we get the last bits of info and come to a resolution with both Sil and her dad. But we will tell them ASAP one way or another. I will come back tomorrow with another update. Wow, crazy. Update 4, the plot thickens. So as this drama is all unfolding, the maid of honor, who doesn't know what's going on yet, is continuing her duties. We all get a 4-paragraph text from her outlining the dress code for each night of the bachelorette, per the bride's orders. Keep in mind the bride is asking us all to go out and buy new outfits for each night of the trip. And the themes are wild: animal print Thursday, faux fur Friday, sparkle dress Saturday, and Barbie brunch Sunday. As if we're all going to go out and buy that shit 1 week before the trip, or at all. Thankfully the BMs seem to be waking up to the BS. Several of them wrote back saying they won't be able to pull together those outfits in time, and one flat out said it's just not going to happen. But that's just a side story to the absolute shit show that is unfolding. My mom is very involved now as she's paid a decent chunk of this wedding as well, and is not like that the bride is throwing around thousands of dollars from her dad as well as lying to the bridal party. She set up a meeting directly with Sil to cut the BS and explain what's going on. She told Sil she's going to inform the BMs herself unless she gets a valid answer. At this point I'm just shoveling down popcorn waiting for the events to unfold. I will be back tonight with hopefully the final update. Update 5, a swan eye sculpture. She used the $7,000 to book a swan-shaped eye sculpture to be displayed at the reception and didn't tell anyone. Turns out her dad banned her from adding any more extras to the wedding design because it was already so expensive and unnecessary. When he Venmo'd her for the Airbnb, she thought she was being sneaky and kept it instead. She didn't even tell my brother this. He only found out that her dad decided to cover the Airbnb because those two went out for cigars one night and it came up. So that mystery is solved thanks to my mini FBI crew, but now the real questions remain. Where TF is my $650 and how to break the news to the BMs? Out of the kindness of her soul my mom is giving Sil 24 hours to confess to the bridesmaids and figure out how to pay us back our money. Because you know what, I did not spend $650 on some damn ice. I have kids to feed. I have bills to pay. It is taking everything in me not to text the BM group right now, but my mom is trying to give Sil one opportunity to do the right thing. This has been a roller coaster. Don't know if anyone here is still interested, but let me know if I should post the final outcome with the BMs in one last update. Lord have mercy. Update 6. Okay, as promised, here is the latest tea, served boiling hot. This is a long update and I'm going to try and get everything in. First let's start with the bride's explanation to her family, myself, my mom, my brother, her fiancé, and her dad. She broke down crying saying that wedding planning has been getting to her head, and she has been crushed under the pressure to have the perfect wedding, which she felt couldn't go on without this alleged eye swan. I didn't buy her sob story. After this whole incident I think she is a delusional, controlling, attention-starving bridezilla who is using the wedding as a way to compete with other girls on Instagram. BTW, her job is influencer if I didn't mention that yet. My brother took the bait. To be honest, I don't even blame him. This is his future wife, and he said he wants to help her with her mental health and get her back to a good place. He is disturbed by the situation but will continue to support her. The wedding is on, for those who were curious. Next let's get into the matter of the missing $7,000 and whether we're getting our money back. The sad, gut-wrenching answer, probably not. Her dad said he has already paid the Airbnb cost once and he will not do it again. He said his daughter is 31 and needs to get herself out of her own mess and figure out how to make it right. She chimed in that the $7,000 is gone and asked how she would possibly pay us back. My brother refused to pay for her screw up. While I love that everyone is finally forcing this B to be an adult, I would like my money back more. Unfortunately we're not going to get it unless she magically wins the lottery or gets a real job. For those that asked, there is nothing we can do legally. We all willingly paid a fixed amount and we would have to move mountains, and spend more dollar, to sue. Plus, while she was incredibly shady and a terrible friend, she technically didn't do anything wrong that we could prove. Now on to the bridesmaids. After some threats from my mom, Sil finally broke down and contacted the BMs in our group chat. She sent a text that made my skin crawl. Hey ladies. You're my bride squad, so I feel compelled to share that my dad recently offered to pay for our Bach accommodations. However, being that the wedding is so expensive, I have decided to put his donation towards a wedding expense. I hope you all understand and I can't wait to party with you all next week. Oh hell no. I immediately replied back making sure everyone knew the expense was an ice sculpture. An ice swan. Come on people. Many of them replied and expressed how they would have loved to use that $650 for something more important. But ultimately no one has backed out, One of the girls started a side chat without the bride and asked if there is any chance of getting our dollar back if we force Sil to cancel the reservation. Unfortunately, since we're only a week out, we aren't eligible for a refund. They decided to go through with the BOC or else it would be a literal waste of $650. As for myself, I'm in the same boat. I would rather run myself over than go on this trip. But $650 is not a small amount and I can't fathom just throwing it down the drain. I haven't made my final decision yet. If I do go, it will solely be to avoid eating the $650 plus my airfare. I will not be doing any of the planned events or outfits, or contributing even $1 more. I would have my own mini vacation as best I can. I'm really upset that it seems like this crazy person is going to get her way after all. Mini update 6. Hey, there are so many curious comments coming in, so I want to keep you in the loop. More drama has unfolded among the bridesmaids. The side text without the bride popped off and we have all agreed to do the following. We will be going on the trip, but it is no longer a bachelorette trip. We will all be taking personal vacations with our hubbies/significant others while staying at the property. We were forced into this beachfront mansion plus airfare, so we're going to make the most of it. We have all backed out of hosting and paying for the bridal shower. The bride will need to find another way to move forward if she wants to have it. We will attend as guests if she has it, and we will not be gifting anything. Mother of the bride is absolutely furious. More on this later. We're letting the bride know she needs to cancel the iSwan trademark and give us our money back. After some more research, we doubt all of the $7,000 went towards the alleged swan because it doesn't seem like they cost that much. I won't be back for a while because I want to save my next update for after the trip. Stay tuned. Update 7. The absolute tea I have today. It took me so long to write this because I am at a complete and utter loss for words. Where to begin? Let me start with this. There is no iSwan. There never was an iSwan. It was all an elaborate fabrication designed to distract everyone from where the missing $7,000 actually went. RIP iSwan. Turns out there was a reason behind Sil's luxury bachelorette location. Here's what happened. All the bridesmaids show up to the beachfront mansion with our significant others. Sil had already been made aware that it was no longer a bachelorette, but to our complete shock, she was still stunned that we actually meant it. She arrived last in her pre-booked limo, absolutely fuming that no one else showed up to the limo meeting spot at the airport. She was the only one still sticking to the original itinerary. Then she was flabbergasted that the husband/sos were with us. It was a comedy show at best. Anyway, we went about our individual mini vacations and eventually someone realized it had been about 48 hours since anyone had seen Sil. I assumed she was mad and either flew home or went to stay somewhere else. Then the unthinkable unfolds. Sil rolls up the driveway in a wheelchair being pushed by 2 female nurses. The entire group jumped into action thinking something horrible happened. Everyone ran over to see what was going on, but the nurses ushered us away and wheeled Sil into her room. At this point I'm actually very concerned. We're all banging on her door asking if she's okay. The nurses eventually leave and say they legally can't reveal the nature of her health issue but assure us she's fine. I call my brother and mom but get no answer, so I finally decide to call her mom, aka the mother of the bride, who was furious that we took over the bachelorette party. Mom reveals what actually took place. She isn't sick, she didn't have a health issue, there was no accident, she got her boobs done. Yes folks, you read that correctly. She had planned, as part of the original itinerary, to disappear for an afternoon and return with a set of new melons. I'm sorry. What? The location of the beachfront mansion is conveniently 5 minutes away from a very famous cosmetic surgeon's office. The reason she needed this giant-ass property was not really to host 11 girls, it was to host 11 girls plus the surgery recovery nurses and personal chef she had reserved for after the operation. There is so much more that we need to unpack, I honestly don't know where to begin. What was her mother's knowledge/involvement in all this? What was the cost of the procedure? Guessing around $7,000, and why was it meant to be part of the BOC? What was the purpose of the iSwan lie? WTF? Will the bridesmaids, myself included, pursue legal action? Where does this leave my brother? Is this lady okay mentally? Was this a horribly misplaced cry for attention? Was it an FU to the bridesmaids somehow? So many questions remain. I am only a few hours back from this trip, so this is all the information I have right now. I was intending for this to be my final update, and I just want to say thank you all for your support, advice, bags of popcorn, and funny input. This has been a wild ride and I'm glad I could share it with you. So far we have had this crazy ordeal picked up by a news publication, multiple podcasts, and a magazine. I literally want to write a book about this experience. I've already revealed a great deal of info, and so to protect my brother's privacy moving forward, I think I need to step away from the updates. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Let my wife and childhood best friend crash at our place while he was down. I later caught them having an affair. I kicked them out. I, 30 male, got married to my wife, 32 female, when we were in our mid-20s. The two of us had been in similar circles, so it wasn't like the two of us didn't know about each other. It wasn't until we were out in a group setting that we got to talking. My best friend Greg was throwing a birthday party. I was one of the attendees, as was Laura, my future wife. After I was greeted by Greg, I wandered over to the snack table and grabbed a few snacks. It was there I bumped into Laura, who also had the same idea. Again, the two of us had talked before, but we never had a chance to have more than a surface level conversation. That night at the party we talked for a long time. I think we exclusively just spoke with one another. Sure, the two of us spoke with Greg, but once we started talking it was like we couldn't stop. I ended up grabbing a cup of coffee with her that night. We stayed at the cafe for a while until realizing that it was pretty late. From there the two of us began dating. It was slow going at first because we were both heavily involved in our careers as people in their 20s were. I was working as a chef while Laura was working in the legal sector. The two of us dated for about a year before we had a mutual conversation about what our future would look like. After a long talk, we decided that we were going to get married. In about 6 months we had a very small wedding with just family and friends. Greg was my best man because I couldn't imagine having anyone else as my best man. Greg and I had been friends since childhood. Despite all our differences, the two of us were best friends. He tended to live a rather chaotic life, so I felt like I managed to ground him. Once Laura and I were married, we got an apartment and started building a life together. The first year we were definitely in newly wedded bliss. During the second year, we started to get out of that and shift into a more general marriage mindset. Things weren't perfect, but they were good. If we had issues, then the two of us worked them out. After our second anniversary, Greg ended up in a bad spot. He and his girlfriend at the time broke up, leaving him without a place to stay. Being the good friend I was, I asked Laura if Greg could stay with us. She agreed. We had an extra room that Greg could stay in while he saved up money to get a studio apartment. It shouldn't take long because he had a decent paying job in the financial sector. Never did I think that Greg moving in was a bad idea. He needed a place to stay and I would be damned if I wasn't going to let him stay. However, what was supposed to be temporary ended up turning into a couple of months. I didn't want to say anything because it was clear Greg needed to still get his head on straight. Laura also didn't seem to mind him being here. The two of them were getting along quite well. At some point, I began to think it was a little too friendly. One time I even found them cuddling on the couch. They tried to pass it off like one of them just fell asleep on the other. I pretended to believe them, but I didn't buy it. I was a lot of things, but a fool wasn't one of them. So I decided to buy a nanny can and then put that up in the living room when they knew I wasn't going to be at home. The first chance I got I checked the footage and was floored by what I saw. Laura and Greg were engaging in a romantic relationship right under my nose in my own house. I couldn't believe either one of them would do it to me. Not only was Laura my wife, but Greg was someone I had known since childhood. How could both of them hurt me like that? The next day I confronted the two of them. Just when they tried to deny it, I told them I had video footage of them kissing on the couch. The next thing they were saying was that it just happened and they weren't trying to hurt anyone, especially me. I asked if they loved each other. Ironically, their lack of an answer is what gave me the answer I needed. They had some type of feelings for each other, and if that was how it was, then so be it. Who was I to stand in the way of true love? After learning the truth, I said screw it and moved out to my parents. Then I went onto social media and blasted them over social media. The fallout started right away. My in-laws turned against Laura and even Greg's family shamed him. Our mutual friends took sides and most of them chose mine, which proved that they were better friends than Greg could ever be to me. Naturally, my own family took my side, so I had their support from the start. The next few months were a whirlwind. I had to look at getting a new place of my own, going through with the divorce, and just moving on. Greg and Laura stayed in the apartment for a while, but Greg was failing to pay his half of the rent. Eventually, it led to the two of them being evicted. Since the two of them had been shunned by family and friends basically, it was difficult for them to find any support. The two of them ended up getting evicted and from there they scrambled to find a place to live. It shouldn't be surprising that the two of them ended up breaking up sometime after this. I didn't care because neither of them were very important people in my life anymore. One of the worst things about this was losing not only my wife but also my best friend. It seemed fitting that the two were also losing others in their life because of their actions. There wasn't one part of me that regretted blasting the truth of what they did all over Facebook. Let them feel a little of what I felt. I had never been a person who was big on revenge, but when it came down to it I felt like I had to do it for the healing process. Would I do it again? Yes, I would, because it helped me take another step towards being able to move on. At this point in my life, I am dating again. My current girlfriend and I have been together for a few months. I can't say I have any idea where it is going to go, but I am hopeful that it is going to turn into something long term. All I know is that I'm going to take it slow. This is also something my girlfriend is fine with, thankfully. It helps a lot that she supports me in this. My ex-wife and ex-best friend aren't two people I think about anymore. Their lives haven't been easy since they decided to have an affair, but that is what you get. I can safely say that I am living my best life right now and will continue to do so now that I have those two toxic people out of my life.